Hi crafty friends, this is Natasha for Hero Arts, and today we will be making a Valentine's Day card featuring the letter Fancy dies. To begin, I am grabbing my Peony core ink and I am going to rub that across a piece of white cardstock. This is Dove White cardstock, and I am going to essentially create my own peony colored cardstock. I thought this color would be perfect for a Valentine's Day themed card. If you ever cannot find the perfect color cardstock, but you have the perfect color ink, consider doing this to achieve the color scheme you would like. Once I have rubbed my ink pad all across this page, I'm just going to blend it out a little bit, and I will then grab an A2 sized card panel of the Cherry Premium cardstock. I love this color and also thought it would be perfect for Valentine's Day, but I'm going to kick it up a notch by grabbing my Cranberry core ink, and I will be inking around the edges using my Hero Arts blending brush. I just want to add a little bit more depth to this card panel because this is, again, the background, and we are going to be doing some fun die cutting and layering that on top, so the depth will definitely help everything just pop a little bit more. I focus most of the ink along the corners of this card panel and try to leave the center the original cherry color. With that complete, I then grab the Novel Prose Bold Prints stamp and my Misty, and I am just going to pop that in. We are going to add a subtle bit of interest to the background using this stamp. These tiny words I think are perfect. So using that and the Intens-ified black ink by Hero Arts, I am just going to ink that up and stamp it right onto my card panel and set that aside to dry. I chose to only stamp this Bold Prints stamp once, but if you would like the words to pop even more, feel free to add more layers of ink and stamping onto the background. But this is how we are looking. Moving right along, I grab the O and the X dies. These are the letters that we will be using from the fancy dies that I mentioned before. The O comes from the O through R fancy die set, and the X comes from the W through Z fancy die set. So I just used my metal snips and clipped each letter off individually because we will be die cutting these using that peony color cardstock we created. I'm also using passion flower cardstock, and you will also need white cardstock. I grabbed my Hero Arts compact cutter. It is perfect for running these through. You just have to remember you're going to be doing this quite a few times. So for the O, you will need 4 of those in both the peony colored as well as the white colored cardstock. So you will need 4 of those, so 8 total, 4 in peony, 4 in white. I do decide to stack my cardstock and run that through just to cut down on the number of times that I have to die cut each letter. For the X, you will need 5 of those in each color, so 5 in passion flower and then 5 in white. Once you have completed all of your die cutting, you should be left with a stack of die cuts that look something like this. I am now grabbing my precision glue, and we are going to layer these white and peony O's and then the white and passion flower X's on top of each other with a bit of an offset. Just take your time figuring out which way you want your offset to be. If you want the white to be more of an offset on the front, or you would like it behind, and I liked it behind. So I'm just going to take my time and layer all of these up. I do occasionally spot check to make sure that my letter sizes are about the same once I've layered them up. So again, just take your time doing this. Cut on some music and just get to gluing. If you have any issues with glue sticking to the front of your ink blended or colored cardstock, just grab a sand eraser and get that off as soon as you can, because once this glue is in place, it is not going anywhere. The O's are easy to align, but the X's can be a little tricky. So I chose to ensure that the smaller V was at the top of my X, and that is how I tried to line everything up. This will also be a note that you need to make mentally in your head when we place these down on the A2 background panel that we have, because it will throw off how the pattern looks if one X is upside down. So just ensure that when doing this, the smaller V of the X is at the top, and that will help you so much when making these. Once everything is layered up, you should have something that looks like this. All of my letters are layered and ready to go. So I grab that ink blended cherry cardstock panel that we created with the stamping overlay. I then began playing with the placement of each letter. I do know there are more X's than O's, so I just keep that in mind. I also try to remove any residual glue or even the eraser bits from where I removed glue off of these letters as I place them, because I want them to be as neat as possible. I also ensure that, again, the smaller V of each X is pointed towards the top and not the bottom. So you may see me rotate some X's along the way. But I'm just going to take my time and place everything. Right now my placement is a little off center, which I do fix later. And once I have done that, I will grab some cling wrap and lay that across the top of all of these letters and try to keep everything in place as much as I can to flip over and add more of that precision adhesive. I ended up losing an O in the process, but that is okay because everything else is in place, so I will be able to put it back. When lining up these letters, another tip is that the novel prose is written in straight lines. So if you line this up and stamp it so the lines are straight, you will have another guide to go by. That's kind of what I went by when I was lining up my letters, but it's hard to see from up above because they are a subtle accent to this card. So here I am just adding on those letters. I am trying to ensure that I'm as careful as possible not to move anything because this is wet glue and I do not want to do any damage to my card panel. Once I think everything is down and in place, I just go ahead and add on that O. I do give it a few seconds for everything to be dry and in place before I go in with my scissors and clip off all of the overhang. Once that is complete and I have cleaned up all of the cut off bits, this is how my card panel is looking. Now it's time to work on the sentiment. So I grabbed the everyday sentiment strips as well as some pitch black cardstock, and I am going to stamp this using the unicorn pigment ink. I think the black and white contrast will be perfect for this card, so I'm going to stamp and use the Happy Valentine's Day sentiment, and I will also end up using the With Love sentiment. So two different strips from this set. I wanted to make this sentiment more personalized, so after I heat set it, I just grabbed my white jelly roll pen and went over the sentiment again, so it kind of looked more like handwriting than the typewriter script or font that is used for the stamp set. So it just gave the sentiment a different look. So that is a little trick. If you want this to look more like a personalized and handwritten sentiment, you can consider stamping in a white pigment ink and then going over that with a white jelly roll pen, because it creates a bit of a shadow. Again, I heat set that and pop it up on some foam and add that onto my card. I thought I needed a little bit more on this card, so I grabbed the Love You sentiment strip and did the same exact thing by going over it with my jelly roll. I heat set it and popped that up on my card as well. My final touch was to add a heart onto the Love You sentiment strip just to give it a more personalized feel. I also take the time to add this on to a white card base, so my card will be ready to go for this Valentine's Day season. Here is my completed card. It is perfect for someone you love. I hope I have given you a bit of inspiration today. Thank you for joining me on the Hero Arts channel. Have a great day.